All right, Irish fans, welcome back to another episode of the Golden Domers Report. It's a special episode. This is what we call an emergency press conference episode. Well, you all know the news. Brian Kelly has left the University of Notre Dame to go coach at Louisiana State University. He's going to go eat some gumbo. All right, so JR, Logan, and myself are dying to get on this subject. And without further ado, JR, floor is yours. Just talk about whatever you want to go, what direction you want to go. Floor is yours.
Listen, I hate to say that I was right, but a month ago, this exact topic was brought up, discussed. I was rebuffed, debunked, told I was wrong 2 to 3 years. And here we are a month later. I tried to tell you guys that this cat was on his way out the door. I thought he only had a toe or a foot out the door. It turned out he had his entire ass out the door. Landon, and this is a little awkward. I wish I could see your beautiful face. Instead, I'm talking to the wonderful lady on the top of the dome. I'm not quite sure what's going on in Fort Wayne. Maybe it's snowing over there. I don't know. I hope it plays into the Hawkeyes and the Houston Cougar and the Baylor Bears favor. It looks like you got some technical difficulties. So I'm not quite sure what the problem is. But you said that this was a deflating kind of a moment, and this was a tough and a hard week. I'm going to put a different spin on it. I think this is a great week. I think that this is not the worst thing that has happened to Notre Dame football. And if you listen to that podcast where we discussed all of this, I was in the minority in thinking that. And here I am today. I quite honestly have never felt better about Notre Dame football. Now, credit to Brian Kelly. Some of that is in part because of him. But I mostly feel that way because of the leadership that remains in place with our assistant coaches, most notably Marcus Freeman, and the student athletes that we have leading that team. I think you're going to see a very strong response no matter what arena it is in. Hopefully it's in the college football playoff. I would like to talk about Brian Kelly, but I don't quite honestly want to give him the airtime or the chance to mention his name too many times because of the stunt that he pulled. Am I surprised that this happened? In no shape, way, or form am I shocked that this happened. I thought that this was going to happen. I'm surprised it's actually taken this long. It's not when you leave. It's not if you leave. It's how you leave. And quite honestly, he probably couldn't have fouled this up any worse. Is some of it, brought on by the current format and how the NCAA has things scheduled on the calendar with, signing day and, some of those things that have come in play. He wants to get a jump on recruiting. He obviously doesn't give a damn about Notre Dame or the kids that are in that room. If he did, and he was serious about winning a national championship, he would certainly stay. If he wanted to go to LSU and LSU wanted him to be the coach that badly, he certainly could have said he to wait. I'm glad he did not. I'm a big fan of Lou Holtz. If you got an assistant coach or any coach who's got his eyes on another team, it probably takes away the focus. Just go, dude. Just go. I'm glad you're gone. Thank you. I think Notre Dame's in a very good spot. Now it's incumbent upon Jack Swarbrick to make a very critical decision and hire. I think probably the most logical and safe hire would be Marcus Freeman. I think some of the pressure would be taken off of Swarbrick because if he named Freeman, I don't think anybody across the country would say, oh man, risky pick, dumb pick. Yeah, sure. There's some concerns, no head coaching experience, first job at Notre Dame, all the demands that come with it. But quite frankly, I would just keep the train rolling along the tracks, hire Coach Freeman permanently, get that ball rolling. Maybe Swarbrick has that in his playbook, and he's just waiting for the proper time to announce it. Hopefully sometime on Saturday, just right when some of that chaos has taken place, and we can make a big announcement and maybe impress the committee and Landon's favorite person, Mr. Barta. With that said, I'll shut up. I'll hear the rest of the panel's thoughts. And don't be afraid. You can send edible arrangements to Warren, Ohio, whenever you'd like. I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so.
Wow. Logan, you want to go? You want to let me go first, or you want to go?
I don't care.
Go ahead.
To say I was shocked was an understatement. At first, it was shocking, and then it was like, oh, I'm gonna play this be as less emotional as I possibly could be. Until I opened up my Twitter yesterday, more stuff came out today of how he handled this. And I think the one thing that really, really did it for me as a current coach of kids, one, how they found out over social media, which that's really nobody's fault, in my opinion. I wasn't mad at him for that. But to come in, call that 7 a.m. meeting, be there and say what he had said in that 3 minutes and be on his way out of South Bend at 7-Eleven, that kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. And like JR said, it's not if you leave, it's not when you leave, it's how you leave. In the manner that he left, he, in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion, he has tarnished his legacy. He's torched it. And, credit to him. He's won a lot of games for us. But like JR said, I don't want to give him the benefit of me talking bad about him. Credit to him. He brought Notre Dame out of a really bad spot, left it in a really good spot, did his job. Sayonara, enjoy the gumbo. I cannot wait until he's culturally shocked when he goes and coaches that team. Watched his press conference today. It's just very irritating. It made me feel really good as a Notre Dame fan because what he said he had wanted is what Notre Dame has right now. With that being said, I will disagree with JR as Marcus Freeman being a low-risk guy. I think it's more of a situation. It's a high risk because he doesn't have any head coaching experience, but I also think it could be a high reward. A lot of analysts listen to a lot of podcasts about, everybody just unraveling this and analyzing it. I think if we were to hire someone like Fickle or Campbell, we're just hiring another Brian Kelly to where our schedules align, we can maybe get 9-10 wins, but we can never get over that hump. It is amazing to been able to see and witness how many current players, former players, alumni, other coaches, and current recruits right now, commits and recruits. They're all calling for Freeman, and I'm frustrated. It's like if that is the case, to make this all go away, to impress the committee, you've waited a couple days now. You got to call it Saturday and unreel it. And you have to hire that guy. You have to hire Freeman because obviously he has impacted the Notre Dame community, the fan base, and most importantly, those kids on that current team right now. I agree with JR. The leadership on that team, Mike Golick Jr. was talking about it today. As how he's talked to Kurt Heinisch and Kyron, and he's been amazed at how they've handled it and how they have talked about it. And obviously, it's an exciting time. And I think I didn't think it would be a good thing. I think this is the best thing that has happened to Notre Dame in a really long time. And I'm really confident because a pissed off team, watching Bayless talk to the team yesterday when they released that video, Bayless talking that he would die. He wants to die here coaching Notre Dame kids and Notre Dame athletes, and talking about how a pissed off team is going to be really scary. That's where I kind of see it's like that Cinderella moment where if we find a way to get in that playoff, hopefully it would be a great story if we go and just win the whole damn thing. With that being said, I'm all for Marcus Freeman. I wouldn't be mad if Fickle or, I don't like Campbell, but like we were talking about today, PJ Fleck would be another one. But I think there's one candidate here that's really serious, that everybody would have no doubts, no concerns, that's our guy. You keep Tommy, and who knows who else we keep. We got Bayless, which was huge, but it'll be interesting to see who else we can kind of pick off. Freeman can keep off that Kelly staff. Hopefully Kelly takes Quinn's ass with him. But other than that, I like where we're at as far as going in, and hopefully some chaos happens this weekend.
I want to be clear. I don't think Freeman is low risk. I think if you're Swarbrick, the act of hiring him is low risk.
Okay.
I don't think Freeman is low risk at all. I think he's got an extremely high ceiling. I think the act of hiring him and naming him the next head coach insulates Swarbrick, because nobody would question that hire.
Yeah.
If he turned out to be, not the guy, or was a failure down the road, nobody can say, oh, well, we told you, we didn't think you should have hired that guy, because the entire country is saying just hire Marcus Freeman.
And here's another point that I heard today, I saw on Twitter, is Swarbrick's career is about done. And this hire for this football team is going to be, a huge component of what his career, what his image is going to be. So he can hire Marcus Freeman. It may not work out, but by the time Marcus Freeman is out of Notre Dame, if it didn't work out, he's probably gone anyway. It's up to the new AD to do that. And that's why I'm a big Freeman guy now. Like, it wasn't at the beginning, but as the season went on, obviously our defense improved. Is he ready? I don't think any coach can be ready to be a head coach. Obviously he's going to learn, but it will be interesting to see how everything unravels. I really hope we keep Tommy. It seems like he wants to stay in South Bend, is what the reports have indicated. But Landon, the floor is yours.
Well, I just want to open up with saying that I agree with both of your takes, all of your takes. But I also want to say that I want to thank Brian Kelly for what he's done for the University of Notre Dame. When he inherited in 2010, we were a team struggling to get 6 wins in a 12-game season. We were offensively poor, defensively very poor. And he came in and built Notre Dame to what it helped build Notre Dame to what it is today. He had phenomenal assistants who helped recruit, helped develop. He sure as hell didn't develop quarterbacks. You look at so many quarterbacks who went out the door at Notre Dame. Malik Zaire was a hell of a quarterback, no development. Deshaun Kaiser was a hell of a quarterback, no development. Everett Golson could have been a hell of a quarterback, no development. Same thing every year. Brandon Wimbush, no development from him. So he had great assistants to help develop and recruit the players. But overall, when you think of Notre Dame in the 2010 through 2020 era, you think of Brian Kelly. And Notre Dame would not be where we are today without Brian Kelly. And that's a fact. You can't deny the facts. And I'm very thankful for what he has done for the University of Notre Dame and how he has built this football team. If it wasn't for him, we'd be in Nebraska. With that being said, you don't just up and leave like that if you truly cared about the players. In the press conference today, he said, oh, I love the players. And in his goodbye speech, I love each and every one of you. No, you don't. No, you don't. You just turned your back on every single person standing in that room that you were in the press conference, in the goodbye speech room that you were sitting in. You just turned your back on each and every one of them. Everything that you have worked to accomplish with those players this year, from the Florida State game, from the struggles to where we are today, an 11-1 football team. You just turned your back on every single. You said, you know what? I'm gonna go down south. You guys aren't worth my time. I'm going south, and I'm going to somewhere quote better. That's what I took it as. What'd you say?
It has better alignment, according to his press conference.
Better alignment. What alignment do you want? A one and done every year, or a two-year guy every year? LSU does not give two jacks about academics. I'm sorry, they do not care. And he said student athletes, academic standards. You literally left one of the most prestigious universities in the world to go to Louisiana State University, where they're under sanction. They are under investigation, not only for paying players, but also academic fraud. And you're saying that you're going to go for a better opportunity and better alignment. You are crazy. You have spent the last 12 years at one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and to do what you've done with the football team at that university is amazing. And you just walked right out the door to go to Louisiana State. Now, look, I get $100 million a year is a lot of money. you're 60 something years old. What could you possibly do with that money? And that just shows what he's really been in it for the whole time. I mean, I should have realized this a long time ago. What he did to Cincinnati was very poor. And now he's doing the same thing to Notre Dame, what he did to Cincinnati, just up and leave. And
his exit, Lincoln Riley's.
Yes, you know what? That's true.
And one thing, and this is why I say that, you see all those recruits that day that it was released that Lincoln Riley was going to USC, all those decommits. There's a couple Oklahoma players that have already entered their name in the portal. We so far from what I know, I haven't checked my phone the last hour, we've lost one kid.
Correct.
And if you see them all, they're all pictures with Freeman. It's Freeman guys. He was asked today, is he going to try to get some Notre Dame guys that he recruited to Louisiana? He didn't have an answer. He said, I'm focused on the LSU guys first. He would not answer the question. And believe it or not, I don't think he can pull anybody, any recruit that is committed to Notre Dame in that 22 or 23 class, because obviously you saw the impact that Freeman has had.
Don't be mad at Brian Kelly, because Brian Kelly has made it perfectly clear what Brian Kelly loves. Brian Kelly loves himself. Brian Kelly loves money. Brian Kelly loves job security. He's got 10 years at LSU. He got his raise. He got his extension at Notre Dame. He tried to get another one, and Swarbrick said, you win a national championship in these next 3 years that you got your contract, the duration of your contract, we'll come back and we'll talk about a raise. So, don't be mad at Brian Kelly. He's taking care of himself. He's taking care of his family. We want players and coaches who love Notre Dame and want to be at Notre Dame. That's one thing that's attractive to Matt Campbell from everything that you're reading and seeing about Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell desires Notre Dame. He wants to be at Notre Dame. It sounds like Marcus Freeman does too. Sounds like maybe some of the other guys on staff and some of the recruits do as well. So I'm not mad at Brian Kelly. This is something that is not a shock to me at all. He clearly loves himself more than the university, and that is not a recipe for a successful coach. And again, when I talked about what success is winning a national championship at Notre Dame. It hasn't been done in a really long time, and that's our goal here. And two other points that I want to get to, the way that he handled this. You guys, he was shopping for another job, and I believe this wholeheartedly. He would have taken that USC job. He's been talking to USC, but he knew he couldn't take it because it would have made him even more of a villain than he already is now. And he fouled this up. Imagine how that would have looked. He was looking and shopping for another job and didn't tell anybody on his staff. He didn't tell anybody in the university. It's no wonder he was speaking the way that he was speaking after he beat Stanford. Chugging Gatorade out of that glass championship bowl that they play for, talking about drinking Jameson whiskey after the game. My dude was checked out. He already knew he was long gone, and he didn't tell anybody on the staff. Imagine that. Just imagine that you imagine if you're Marcus Freeman and you come to Notre Dame last year, and this guy sells you this bill of goods, and all the while he's looking for another job and never tells you about it. That is such a bad look. I can't even believe it. And back to Logan's point, I don't think anybody is ready to be the head coach at Notre Dame until you actually get to Notre Dame and you've got some time in that seat to really feel what it's like to be the head coach at Notre Dame. So whether you have experience, whether you don't, whether you've got the pedigree, I don't think anybody can say that they're ready to walk in those shoes until they actually do it, because it's such a demand. There are so many standards that you have to meet. It's like Swarbrick said, it's such a unique place to coach at. I don't think anybody's ready for that until they actually step into the shoes and are ready to fill them. I think that's just the reality of it. And a lot of people are saying, he left to take a better opportunity. It's a better job. I'm sorry, you guys. LSU is a regional brand. They're in the SEC. Yeah, it's the best conference for football, but it's a regional brand. Notre Dame is like the Yankees. They are known worldwide.
International.
Worldwide. My man left the Yankees to go coach the Mets. Good luck, Brian.
One thing I don't understand, and I wish he would just give the answer, obviously he won't, is you want to play for a national championship, you want to win a national championship. If anything, at the most, you got 2 games, or you have 2 situations where you can have 1 game. You got one New Year's Six Bowl, or you could have 1 playoff game and lose like you do. Or you could have 2. So I just, the timing and everything, it was just, that's what sucked about it but it could turn out to a good thing. But that the timing and how he did it, obviously, like we said, was just unfortunate. But like you said, LSU is not a better program than Notre Dame. I think our program is consistent, has been consistent, will continue to be consistent. And we've consistently beat LSU the last two or three times we've played them. So, I just think he wanted the hell out. He was tired of it, wanted money, wanted security. And, I think at some point he realized winning 10 games isn't going to be enough.
Yeah. And listen, if he was sincere in wanting to win a national championship, he would have stayed, because he has a better chance to win a national championship this year. That just goes to show he's not sincere about winning a national championship. Yeah, maybe that's his goal, but it's easier to achieve that goal when you leave the place that gives you the best chance to get that done in the immediate, as opposed to going a place that's going to say, hey, I'm going to give you $100 million in 10 more years to achieve that goal. Would you stay at a place where you maybe have 3 weeks to achieve that goal? Or would you go somewhere and say, I'll take the 10 years. Give me 10 years and $100 million, and I'll try and get that goal.
Yep. I don't blame him whatsoever. Blame him at how he handled it.
That's where I stand. I don't blame him for taking it. I blame him for how he took it and when he took it. Very, very poor timing, but it just reminds me of what he did at Cincinnati. Look at what they did for that. I mean, they just won their conference. They're undefeated, and he just up and left. It's kind of a routine.
Yeah, but he wasn't going to win a national championship there. So, and let's be honest, making the jump from Cincinnati to Notre Dame, everybody understands that. That's completely justifiable.
Right.
Yeah, you want to leave a team that's 12-0 and, going to go to the Orange Bowl? Probably not, but if you're going to do it to go to Notre Dame, everybody's going to understand that.
Correct. It is what it is. At this point, he's gone. And now that leads us into the next segment is who's next? And we kind of touched on it earlier. I want a full prediction by you guys on who the next head coach of the University of Notre Dame will be. We'll start with JR.
We talked about this again at length.
Mm-hmm.
I think I fall in line with Swarbrick and, the uniqueness of Notre Dame and the demands and the standards that you have to meet. We're in a much better place 12 years ago than we were, 12 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So things are in place for somebody to step in and keep the train moving in the right direction. I am not a Luke Fickell guy. I think Luke Fickell could be Archie Miller 2.0. That really worries me. And quite honestly, I'm not so sure that if Luke Fickell was at Notre Dame and Ryan Day ends up going to the NFL, what's to keep Luke Fickell from leaving Notre Dame to go to Ohio State? Because I think Luke Fickell's dream job is Ohio State. It's not Notre Dame. So I'm not Luke Fickell guy. Matt Campbell, I liked it. He seemingly really, really loves Notre Dame and wants to be there. Urban Meyer, no thanks. Yeah, he's probably the most accomplished and would give us the most credibility instantly and maybe the best chance at winning a national championship, but he would probably end up leaving the program in complete disarray and in shambles under investigation. He'd do something inappropriate, get himself suspended. Who knows? I just don't think he's worth any of that baggage. There's a lot of other guys that have, some questionable backgrounds, and people are going to say, well, you had Brian Kelly, and he certainly wasn't clean. He made some questionable decisions that cost a student manager his life. He had some players under his watch that, behaved inappropriately, and I don't really want to get into that either. Certainly all these guys have baggage, but I guess I'm in the majority in saying, let's go with Freeman. He's got 6 kids. He wants to be there. He's certainly a very good coach. I don't know how great of a head coach he will be. I don't think that there's much of a risk in finding out. I think he's a very logical and sensible hire. He's somebody that wants to be there. He's obviously a tremendous recruiter who all the players incoming and that are there currently obviously love and are pushing hard to get. So I guess if I had to make a decision and you put a gun to my head right this second, I would select Marcus Freeman. And according to Vegas, he's got the best odds.
Logan, I agree. Hold on, time out. Before Logan goes, Vegas has been proven wrong a lot of times. So it could. What you mentioned about Matt Campbell, I'm going to go a little bit into more depth here. I'm sorry, Logan, I don't even want to say it, but Matt Campbell wants to be at Notre Dame, and that has not happened for a very long time. Charlie Weiss, come on, I don't think he wanted to be at Notre Dame. I just think he wanted that paycheck he was getting, which I think he's still on payroll. Is he?
Later, one point I'll make, and this is my problem with him that I will counter both of you. You're a top 10 pro. You're ranked in the top 10, and you finish 7-5. Not very good. And that's to me waving the red flag. It's just like hiring another Brian Kelly. He might get us 10 wins because he has more talent than the Toledos or the Pitts or the Navies. But I think we have to hire someone that we think can get over the hump, because there's always going to be somewhere out there that Notre Dame could probably win 8 to 10 games a year.
I'm with you on that. I'm not necessarily searching for the safest guy to hire. I'm looking for the guy that's going to win us the national championship. Is the juice worth the squeeze with Freeman? I would say it probably is worth the risk.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go out on a limb here. You know who is going to get us that national championship is Marcus Freeman. I think he can fully do it. I think he is the guy to get us a national championship, get us over the hump. And let's not discredit here Brian Kelly. He is a phenomenal football coach. And Marcus Freeman was able to learn a little bit from him. He was also able to learn a little bit from Luke Fickell, who is a great football coach as well. I think it's his time. I think he's the guy who can answer the call at the University of Notre Dame. He stated he wants to be there. He's a coach that can build relationships better than Brian Kelly ever has in his career. And he's already done that as the defensive coordinator.
Because Brian taught him how not to be an asshole. Simple as that. I'm with JR. Freeman obviously is the guy. I like Tommy, and I really would love to see Tommy stay in South Bend. Getting Bayless was huge. Getting him to stay. I would like to see McNulty to stay. The only one I would be like sayonara is Quinn. But other than that, it would be interesting to see what Logan Diggs does. Obviously, I don't know if you guys saw, there's a report that, very close to Brian Kelly, would not be surprised if Logan were to transfer, go in that portal next year. So you're always going to have that, but that would be unfortunate. But I think where the program's at right now, you can't hire someone like this job right now. It's so hard to screw up just because the state it's in right now. Now you can screw it up gradually over 2 or 3 years. But with the classes that we have coming in, Freeman, I think, could be that, ignite, if you will, to get us over that hump, to make Notre Dame kind of sexy is the word, in my opinion.
I agree. And, another one you mentioned is, I wonder if Polian is going to follow Kelly to Louisiana State. That's another.
It certainly didn't look like it from his social media posts.
Right.
Yeah.
Not. And they are close. They are very
They are close. Yeah.
Well, I bet he left a sour taste in all his staff's mouths. If anybody asked me, if Brian asked me if I was on his staff to come with him, I'd tell him to kick rocks. I mean,
it's kind of telling. It's been almost 72 hours and nobody has joined him.
Yeah.
That's kind of telling. That, you saw some of those stories about some of his ex-coaches, Soleil, the guy at the Jets, LaFleur, when they were grad assistants. I mean, those stories are out there. I mean, there's a cutthroat way of doing things, and Brian Kelly certainly isn't shy about doing that way. And there's a way to, treat people. And he has not treated people very well, except for himself.
Yeah.
Great points all of you made today. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up here on this episode?
I got some final thoughts.
Hold on.
Notre Dame is big. Notre Dame is bigger than any coach. Notre Dame is bigger than any player. Notre Dame is bigger than any recruiting class. Yeah, we've had our problems in the past, and we haven't had a Heisman Trophy winner in years, and we haven't won a national championship in years. But, at the end of the day, that lady's still going to be sitting at the top of the dome. It's still going to be shining bright. It's still going to be there as the premier football university in the country. There's going to be plenty of people that are going to disagree with me on that. I don't care. I don't play Homer guy on this podcast very often, but I'm going to play it right now because Notre Dame's going to be just fine without Brian Kelly. Believe that, Notre Dame fans. Believe that. And Dylan, I hope you're well, buddy. I hope you're well. I miss you. Wish you the best. I can hear your takes from home right now. Thanks for letting me step into your shoes. I hope I filled them well.
Logan, you were about to say something really funny, and I want to hear you say it because that is going to make my day.
Oh, I hate gumbo.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hope Brian Kelly, I wish him the best at LSU. Roll Tide.
Big Tide fan now.
Yeah, big time. I'm a big Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Alabama. Hell,
hey, get the popcorn ready.
Hell, I'll even be a Florida fan for a little while. I'll even be a Florida fan when they play. I hope he likes Cajun because that's all the people in Louisiana do is eat Cajun every day. Little gumbo, maybe a little chili here and there, but unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to listen to one of my favorite Garth Brooks songs. I don't know if any of you are country music fans. Callin' Baton Rouge by Garth Brooks.
He's already getting roasted for that down there. I don't know if you've seen that.
Which one?
For apparently they've got Garth Brooks coming there, and he announced it to the team, and the team looked at him like he had 4 eyes. So they're like, to Garth Brooks, you think those kids playing at LSU want anything to do with Garth Brooks? No.
Who's Garth Brooks?
I hope we play LSU in the near future in Baton Rouge, and Hurricane Marcus comes rolling in there in the middle of fall and leaves a path of destruction that stadium has never seen before. And I'm sure it may happen before we get there, in the likes of Hurricane Saban, Hurricane Jimbo, Hurricane Lane.
Hurricane.
Good luck, Brian, and good luck, LSU fans. I hope you enjoy 8-4, 9-3, because I can tell you one thing: Notre Dame wasn't going to win a national championship with Brian Kelly. Sayonara. And I can pretty much say the same thing about LSU. They ain't going to win a national championship with Brian Kelly.
Agreed. Mic drop. Go Tigers.
Mic drop.
Yeah, mic drop. JR is dropping the mic there. Drop it like it's hot, JR. Drop it like it's hot.
Jeez.
All right, Dylan, once again, we wish you the best. Hope you're well. Get back so I don't have to edit. I'm not good at editing. Get back. I miss you. And we'll see you next week, guys. Hopefully, we'll be talking college football playoff as well as our new head coach this time.
Georgia Notre Dame matchup.
Yep. Hey.
Chaos.
Hey, we want the dogs.
We want the dogs.
The dogs don't want us.
Chaos. Chaos.
With that being said, go Irish. Love the Notre Dame, and we'll see you next time, Irish fans.